Picture a place so cold and so consistently cold that one particular sentence used to be true with complete confidence. There are no mosquitoes here. That place was Iceland. For generations, people there never installed mosquito screens, never slept under nets, never worried about bites. The country's climate simply made it impossible for mosquitoes to survive long term. And then, this year, that statement stopped being true. For the first time, scientists documented live mosquitoes in Iceland. An insect that never belonged there, now does. And to me, that single quiet fact, a mosquito in a place that should be too cold for it, says more about the warming world than 1,000 climate charts. Because if that is changing, what else is shifting underneath our feet without us noticing yet? Here's what actually happened. In October 2025, researchers in Iceland confirmed the presence of a mosquito species called Culiceta annulata, a species that can tolerate colder climates better than many others. It wasn't just a one-off insect blown in by a plane or a ship. Multiple live specimens were found, which means the conditions were warm enough for them to survive, not just arrive. For context, Iceland has always been one of the few places on Earth considered mosquito-free. That absence wasn't random, it was a climate barrier. Cold winters killed off any accidental arrivals. Temperatures dropped consistently enough to shut down breeding cycles. Nature had a hard stop. That hard stop is now softening. Iceland has been warming significantly in recent decades. Winters are less harsh, warm seasons are just long enough, and cold-tolerant species are taking advantage. The mosquitoes didn't evolve overnight. The world around them changed until it suddenly suited them. And that's why the story matters. One of the most reliable, cold places on the planet just lost its immunity. This isn't a random biological accident. It's a direct consequence of a warming climate. The Arctic region, including Iceland, is among the fastest warming areas on Earth. In some zones, temperatures are rising up to 4 times faster than the global average. That shift reshapes what can live there. Mosquitoes, like most insects, don't make decisions. They follow physics and biology. They breed only when the air stays above certain temperatures for long enough. A standing water doesn't freeze too soon. A winter doesn't kill the larvae and eggs. All 3 of those barriers are weakening in Iceland. This matters because it reveals something deeper than mosquitoes are annoying. It means the climate envelope, the set of conditions that define what life can and cannot exist somewhere, is expanding into new territory. When warmer conditions unlock a place that used to be biologically sealed, 2 things happen. New species gain entry. Old assumptions die quietly, without any dramatic headline, just a subtle shift. A mosquito in Iceland is not just a mosquito, it's a temperature threshold being crossed in real time. It's easy to shrug and think, okay, mosquitoes in Iceland. Not my life, not my country. But that reaction is exactly why this is such a powerful example. Because we are watching a fundamental rule change. A place that used to be too cold is now warm enough for a species to thrive that could never do so before. That tells us 3 important things. 1. The climate is not just warming, it is recategorizing entire regions. What used to be Arctic is becoming cool temperate. What used to be mild becomes hot. What used to be hot becomes extreme. 2. Biological changes are early warning signs. Ecosystems respond before human systems do. Long before a government reports, our region is warmer. Insects, plants, and animals have already adapted or moved. 3. If a place like Iceland is shifting, nowhere is stable. Most people think climate change will hit other places first. But Iceland, a country that was once a symbol of climate stability, is already showing cracks. The point isn't the insect. The point is, a line that nature held for centuries just got crossed. And when that happens in a place that was supposed to be unshakable, every other place becomes negotiable too. Even if you never visit Iceland and never see that mosquito yourself, the same climate force behind that change is already reshaping daily life elsewhere, often in quiet, indirect ways. Here are a few. Health. More heat means more heat stress days, worse sleep, higher dehydration, and rising emergency calls during heat spikes. And as mosquito habitats expand, so do mosquito-borne disease ranges. Cost of living. Hotter seasons mean more air conditioning, more electricity demand, more grid failures, and higher bills. Insurers raise premiums when climate risk rises, not when disaster arrives. Work and productivity. Outdoor work slows or stops in heat. Indoor work becomes harder without proper cooling. Lost labor time becomes lost economic output. Food and water. Heat affects farms long before shelves go empty. Lower yields, higher price volatility, more crop stress. Water systems get strained with longer dry periods and higher evaporation. Infrastructure and routines. Rail lines buckle, roads soften, flights get grounded, events get cancelled, cities rewrite schedules around heat. None of this happens dramatically in one day. It accumulates invisibly, like a slow tightening spiral. That's why a mosquito in Iceland isn't a quirky nature story. It's the smallest visible piece of a much larger pattern. Heat doesn't just make us hot, it reconfigures life. Even when stories like Iceland's appear, a lot of people still shrug. There are 3 very common mental shields. 1. It's far away, not my problem. We underestimate global spillover. Heat in one place affects food markets, migration, disease ranges, insurance, supply chains. Nothing stays local for long. 2. It won't affect me personally. People with good housing, cooling, income, and healthcare feel insulated, but insulation is temporary. Rising costs, disrupted systems, and cascading risks eventually land on everyone, just at different speeds. 3. Climate change is slow. I'll deal with it later. But the Iceland example shows the opposite. By the time we notice change, the underlying conditions have already shifted and stabilized into a new normal. Humans are wired to ignore slow-motion threats until they hit fast. But the smart time to care is not when the crisis is obvious. It's when the first impossible thing becomes real. That's what Iceland was. An impossible event quietly becoming true. Here's the good part. The same way warming is driven by choices, stability can be driven by choices too. Not dramatic, heroic ones, but consistent ones. At the individual, household scale, a make heat resilience changes early. Shading, insulation, airflow, efficient cooling. Pay attention to heat alerts and adjust routines instead of pretending it's just weather. Reduce wasted energy, not as virtue signaling, but because it directly reduces bills and strain on the grid. At the collective, civic scale, support policies and infrastructure designed for a hotter baseline, green space, reflective materials, resilient grids. Vote and advocate not out of ideology but out of self-interest. These shifts affect cost of living, health, and stability. Treat early warnings, like Iceland, as signals to adapt before damage forces reactive spending. The reason to act is not guilt. It's practicality. When a mosquito shows up in Iceland, it's not the insect that matters, it's what it proves. If even the coldest, untouchable places are crossing new thresholds, then waiting until change reaches your doorstep is the worst possible strategy. Care early, adjust early, prepare early, because the world is already rewriting its rules quietly, one impossible event at a time. If you know someone who thinks climate change is some other country's problem, share this story with them. Not to scare them, just to remind them that the future arrives silently first, and visibly later.